5 remarkable words in Latin and how you can use them today. In his biography of Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, Suetonius tells us that he's gone through the letters of the emperor, the ones Augustus wrote by hand rather than dictating, and he's found a few quirks. When Augustus wanted to say something happened quickly, for example, he'd say it happened faster than asparagus gets cooked. Instead of saying, "I feel sick," he'd say, "I feel deflated." And when he was tired, he'd use the word betizzare, to be like a beet. What does this mean? First, it means that Augustus could be adorable. Second, as far as we can tell, this was a unique quirk of his. No one else uses the word like this. In fact, we're not even sure why Augustus used it, beyond the fact that other Roman authors describe beets as soft and delicate, the kind of vegetable that tires easily. Lastly, it means that you too can use these phrases, without any Latin at all, without even becoming emperor. If you appreciate how quickly your Uber driver got you to your destination, mention in your review that they're quicker than steamed asparagus. If you need to call in sick, tell your boss that you're feeling as saggy as a popped balloon. And, of course, if you ever feel like the exhausted victor of a civil war against your own people to seize absolute power, all you have to say is, "I'm beat." Imagine, dear viewer, that you are Orestes. Your mother, Clytemnestra, has murdered your father. In some versions of the story, she tried to kill you too. You escape, but eventually return home in disguise. Your sister urges you to avenge your father, which you want to do, but at the same time, what kind of person would you have to be in order to kill your mother? This is the question the Roman author Pacuvius was trying to answer in his work *Du Orestes, a tragedy about Orestes' time in disguise. As he grapples with his options, Orestes says, "I wish my personality would matrescam right now, so I'd be able to avenge my father." That verb, matresco, comes from the word mater, mother, and the affix esco, to become like. The only kind of person who could kill their own mother is someone like Orestes' mother. This word also has applications outside of murder. One day, perhaps tomorrow, you'll catch yourself thinking, "This music is too loud," or you'll be furious at someone for opening the door and letting all the cold air out. Or you'll just look up in the mirror and realize, I'm becoming my mother. Which is such a wordy way to phrase it, don't you think? Latin has an efficient solution, matresco. It's the end of the month of May, dear viewer, which means it's time for the Ambervalia. We will perform the traditional walking of the fields, sing the traditional prayer to the god Mars, and offer the traditional sacrifice of a pig, a sheep, and a bull. Actually, it doesn't have to be the Ambervalia. It could also be the Compitalia, or a Piaculum ritual, or any holiday or celebration that involves the traditional sacrifice of a pig, a sheep, and a bull. It occurs so often that there's even a special term for that stuff with the pig, the sheep, and the bull. Suavitarelia, pig, sheep, bull stuff. Now, I don't know how many of you are committing ritual sacrifice in your everyday lives, but I'm pretty sure you can think of someone who acts like a pig, or has the bravery of a sheep, or is full of bull. And if you're ever stuck with a group of them and want to gesture to all that stuff you're putting up with, Suavitarelia has you covered. This is one of my favorite words in all of Latin, and one of my favorite places to hear it is in Ovid's Metamorphoses, an epic poem involving myths of transformation. In the first book, Ovid tells the story of how Jupiter, king of the gods, assaults the naiad Io, and in order to cover up his crime, he turns her into a cow. That's not my favorite part. My favorite part comes later, when Io's sisters and her father, the river god Inachus, find her in cow form and recognize who she is, even though she can't talk to them. Her father laments that she can no longer converse. "You are silent, and you cannot return words like ours. You can only draw out sighs from your deep chest, and all that you can do, to my words, you remugus." I hope, dear viewer, that you are never turned into a cow. But if you're ever sick of words and would prefer a different mode of communication when someone addresses you, you can always say remugio, and moo in reply. The one time this word shows up is in the 1st century AD, in a fragmented text known as the Satyricon. In it, our heroes are attending a very weird dinner party hosted by a very weird man. Some of his guests are talking about how life is pretty good, because a gladiator match is going to be held soon, paid for by a man named Titus. One of them says, "Our friend Titus has big ambitions, and he's hot-headed. The show will be this or that, but definitely something. I'm familiar with him, and he's not Mixkix." What does it mean to be Mixkix? We're not exactly sure, because out of all the Latin works we still have from the Roman world, Mixkix only shows up this one time. It's what's called a hapax legomenon, a word spoken only once. James Clackson even wonders if it only shows up here because it's the kind of word that would be made up on the spot, something you might express with a gesture. In the novel, the speaker explains why Titus is not Mixkix. He'll provide the best sword fighting with no mercy, a pile of corpses front and center, so the whole theater can see. So a Mixkix person is not going to be butchering people. We know that. Whether you're Mixkix or not, I hope you'll consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you have a favorite Latin word or whichever word was your favorite in the comments, or you can always moo in reply.